In this video, we're going to learn about one of my favorite topics in business history, and that's the coffee situation during the 2008 financial crisis. And before you get into it, you might be wondering why coffee? Well, first of all, no one looks into it. But two, coffee is one of those things that changes every few years. And if you really look into it, you could start to see how human psychology changes with what people are dealing with in that moment in time. So it's important to know this sort of stuff because you could then become the next business owner who just 100x's their company due to the circumstances like inflation that everybody's dealing with, or you might be this person who has had a coffee preference change and you might not have even noticed it until you learn what we learned today. So think back 30 years. People would get a $2, $3 cup of coffee on their way to work, and that was their routine. Nothing else when it came to coffee. Enter artisanal coffee, and that's going to be espresso, lattes, macchiato, all the things that Starbucks made popular. But it came in at a higher price, and there was social proof for a $7 cup of coffee, of course. But 2008 was around the corner, and in that year, Starbucks closed 600 stores, and Keurig, before that year, was at around 500 million in sales. This coffee went from something that was more affordable to a majority of people and something that was socially accepted to something that was seen as something that was unnecessary, too expensive, and that was where Green Mountain, the owners of Keurig, jumped in. So Green Mountain, that's the guys who own Keurig, they saw sales jump to $2.6 billion within 3 years. That was simply because the market grew. They didn't really make that many changes. The market grew, and they went from little to everything. Keurig owned 71% of the single-serve coffee market, which saw rapid expansion exactly due to inflation, people losing houses, people losing jobs. There was financial strain and it was really tough times for people. This was seen as the value-driven approach, and that's why their market exploded, as did they. Now put yourself in Starbucks' shoes. You have a bunch of stores, you have a bunch of overhead, and you have washing away demand due to the financial crisis. Like I said before, they closed 600 stores, so what are they going to do to try to get that money back? They're not seen as a valuable brand, they're seen as an upscale brand. Enter Via, and I think they still sell these. This was their attempt to try to bring the Starbucks experience at home, right? They're trying to bring Starbucks to you at home, and they were the ones that were pioneering this, bringing this upper echelon brand down to you guys, as in, you got what I'm saying, down to everybody in the at-home brewing experience. So before the crisis, you'd see all these photos and everyone was walking around with one of these. And then after the crisis, everyone had one of these. What was inside this is where the battle was now, because you couldn't change what people were carrying. Now here's the lesson. Habits that are formed in pressure outlive pressure. A lot of people who ended up drinking this, the Dunkins, the Keurigs, they still buy them to this day. There are billions and billions of dollars in sales now because people have transitioned to that and they haven't really left it because, again, it was formed in pressure, it hasn't left. And that's why you guys would remember Starbucks was trying a ton of things and they just couldn't get anything to stick. They had the secret menu, they had those pink drinks, they had the oleados, none of that stuff stuck around. No one really wanted it. Habits that are formed in pressure outlive pressure. Let's take a look at today. Restaurant traffic is down. It hasn't returned to pre-COVID levels. Restaurant prices are up. Grocery prices are up. And the government is saying that the inflation rate on these things is going to widen, not narrow. So the message back then was that when people have financial struggles, they bring their money back home. Keurig was to coffee what you should be to the kitchen. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic. I saw a guy on TikTok, he was advertising this. He calls it the Adaptula spatula. If he doesn't update the product a day in his life, simply because this market is going to continue to explode in popularity, his sales are going to go through the roof. This is one of the easiest ways I think you can make money, just by making something which is actually going to work in the kitchen. So my question to you is, what over the last 2 years has impacted the way that you buy things? The number one thing that everyone's going to mention is cost, because everyone's felt the rising costs. But it could be a couple other things too, which impact what you buy regularly, unregularly, what your preferences are. I'm just curious where else that 2008 Keurig situation can be lying.